welcome McElroy.
Yeah, I think the most important.
A lot of you people have a certain factor that makes Now, our speaker, Dr. Tony Alessandra, helps companies build customers, relationships, and the bottom line.
Hey, I like it. He moves around the stage. It looks like he's talking to people. He's looking people in the eye. He's communicating quite well.
He was born in Hell's Kitchen, New York City, and raised himself from street fighter to university professor through sheer determination.
I think it's a lot of useful information.
Very interesting, captivating.
Excellent. Very good.
Tony earned his MBA from the University of Connecticut and his PhD in marketing from Georgia State University. He was inducted into the Speakers Hall of Fame in 1985 and is a member of the Speakers Roundtable, a group of 20 of the world's top professional speakers.
He's very interactive with the audience. He really makes you feel a part of his stories.
Dr. Alessandra is a widely published author with 14 books translated into 11 foreign languages, including Collaborative Selling, Communicating at Work, People Smart, and several others.
Gets a point across, throws in some humor. It's good.
I'm walking out with a lot of tools.
He is featured in over 50 audio and video training programs by well-known production houses like Nightingale Conant and Walt Disney. Tony Alessandra was recognized by Meetings and Conventions magazine as one of America's most electrifying speakers.
His delivery is just awesome, and it really makes worth a wonderful seminar.
Presenting his program, The Platinum Role, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Tony Alessandra. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How many of you in your dealings with other people have ever had a personality conflict? Can I see your hands? Personality conflict? All right, and I guess the rest of you don't deal with people, right? Come on, all of us, whether we admit it or not, we've all had the misfortune of not being able to connect with another person, not able to create that all-important meeting of the minds, which is so crucial in selling. How many of you sell? Can I see your hands? What's the very first thing you have to sell? Yourself. If you can't do that, it makes everything else that much more difficult. But if you can connect with somebody, if you can build rapport, if you can get them to like you and ultimately trust you, it makes the selling process that much easier and quicker. Agreed? I believe that you can create a lot more rapport with people and a lot less tension with them based on how well you practice the golden rule. Practice it appropriately, you're going to create a lot more rapport with people. Inappropriately, you're going to create some conflict. Now, before I go any further, let's make sure that we're all listening from the same perspective. What is the golden rule? Anybody? The golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I believe in that. I practice it. I live it. I breathe it, especially when it comes to values, ethics, honesty, consideration. However, when it comes to interpersonal communication, the golden rule can, and frequently does, backfire. Now, why? Well, the way it is stated, if you practice the golden rule verbatim, you would basically treat other people the way you would like to be treated. Does that make sense? The problem is, do other people want to be treated the same way you do? Probably not. Probably not at all. I mean, I learned that firsthand when I moved from New York City to San Diego, California. When I moved to San Diego, I practiced the golden rule. I treated everybody in San Diego as if they were New Yorkers. Do you see a potential problem here? Came on too strong, too fast, too in your face, too aggressive. Even when I asked people to do things that under any other circumstance they would do. It was reasonable, it was correct, they would do it. But it wasn't what I was asking that irritated people. It was how I was asking. It was my approach, it was my demeanor. And as a result, they dug in their heels and they decided not to budge. Not because of what I was asking, but how I was asking. Now, I believe that what we need to do is practice the true spirit, the true intent of the golden rule. And I call that the platinum rule. The platinum rule, very simply stated, is do unto others the way they want to be done unto. Or treat people the way they want to be treated. Does that make sense? Basically, what I'm asking is for you to talk to people in ways that make it easy for them to listen to you. If you manage or lead people, what we need to do is manage and lead people in a way that internally motivates them to want to follow. And I also believe that you need to sell people the way they're comfortable buying, not necessarily the way you're comfortable selling. This concept is called adaptability. Adaptability is your ability to change your approach, to change your strategy, depending on the situation of the person you're dealing with. That is adaptability. You look at the top salespeople across the board, and they have some level, typically a high level, of adaptability. Adaptability is being able to go into an account and adjusting your approach based on the information you pick up about that person. If you didn't adjust your approach, why do we need salespeople? I mean, we could just send out a video or let them see a presentation over an internet because it would be the same to everybody. One of the beautiful aspects of face-to-face selling is that you can go in, you can size up a situation, you can determine needs, you can present solutions, different solutions, customer by customer by customer, based on differing needs, but more importantly, you can adjust your approach, the how you sell, based on the customer's style, their personality, their behavior. So, what I want to do is share with you a concept that I'm sure every single person in this room has been exposed to a minimum of one time, somewhere in your life. Maybe a different way. But how many of you, second, third time, through a book, a movie, an audio learning program, second or third time through, you heard or saw things that you totally missed first or second time through? Has that ever happened? Same thing's going to happen this evening. Whether you've been exposed to this concept once, twice, 5 times, it doesn't matter. I guarantee you're going to walk out of here tonight with some new insights, some new strategies, some new techniques that will help you connect with people quicker, deeper, and longer lasting. And by the way, it is not just for sales. I know everybody's in here hoping to pick up some tips and tools and techniques for selling. But when it comes to relationships, it's not just the buyer-seller relationship that I'd like you to focus on tonight. It goes way beyond that. If you work with other people and there's any form of collaboration or team selling, this will help you. How many of you are married? This will help you. In fact, many of you are going to say to yourself, I wish my spouse was here. He or she should be listening to this. How many of you have children? This will help. There's no question about it. How many of you have a manager that you report to? This will help. It is across the board. So don't just listen to it from one perspective. It will help you in all aspects, all relationships. Now, let me tell you this. People will not tell you how to sell them. That would make it too easy, wouldn't it? Hey, listen, before you give me your sales presentation, let me tell you the best way to approach me, and let me tell you what works best with me to close a sale. Wow, would I love that, right? Doesn't work that way, does it? They won't tell you how to sell them, but they will show you. And all I'm asking you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is open your eyes and ears and watch the signals that people send you. Now, when I say watch the signals, I'm not going to talk about listening per se, but I think it's crucial right here. When two people communicate face-to-face, they deliver the message on 3 channels consecutively, and then you hear the message on 3 channels consecutively. I'm using all 3 channels right now. Channels are very easy to remember because they all begin with V. There's the verbal channel, there's the vocal channel, there's the visual channel. Verbal, vocal, visual. Let me define them. The verbal channel. If we recorded this program and had it transcribed and gave you a typed transcript, that would be the verbal part of my message. The words and the words alone. Now, if we recorded this and everybody got an audio tape, now you would get the verbal and the vocal. And the vocal is the inflection, the intonation, the pace, the pitch, the pauses, the volume, the speed that can actually enhance or change the meaning of the actual words. So that's the vocal. Now, if we were recording this on video, which actually we are, and you can actually see what's going on, you would get the verbal, the vocal, and the visual. Now, all communications experts say that when you add all 3, verbal, vocal, and visual, you get 100% of the meaning of a message. And depending on the type of communication that's taking place, sometimes the verbal is more important than the other 2. Sometimes it's the vocal, and more often than you can imagine, it's the visual. All 3 equal 100% of a message. If you miss any of them, I guarantee you, you are missing some of the meaning of the message. If you only focus on the words, the verbal, you may get the content, but not necessarily the intent. Verbal, vocal, visual. Let's talk a little bit about visual. I'm looking at the audience. It looks like a rather young audience, but I want to take you back to 1960. 1960, famous debate, Nixon versus Kennedy. Has anybody heard about that debate? How many people know about that 1960 debate? That was a turning point in that election. That was a dramatic debate because something interesting happened at the debate and afterwards. Something was discovered, and it focused on visual. Here's what happened. After that debate, the pollsters went out, and they asked the American public who won. Whole group of people said Nixon won the debate by a little. Now, the whole group of people said Kennedy won it by a lot. So they figured, hey, Republicans and Democrats, wrong. North and South, wrong. Conservative, liberal, wrong. It wasn't any of that. And many of you know what it was. The people who said Nixon won the debate listened to it on radio. The people who said Kennedy won watched it on TV. They watched it on TV. Now, between radio and television, was the verbal the same or different? Was the vocal the same or different? So the only difference was the visual. How could the visual have that much impact on somebody's impression of who won or lost? I'll tell you how. If you ever get the opportunity, go to a library, ask them if they can get you a copy of the 1960 debate, Nixon and Kennedy. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to totally turn off the volume. Just watch the picture. And it will be very apparent to you why people voted for Kennedy. There was such a stark difference in the message each person sent just by their body language. Dramatic. How about vocal? Do you think you can change things up, mix things up with vocal? I mean, I can say to somebody, hey, nice jacket. All right, you get one impression. I can use the exact same words and say, hey, nice jacket. Same exact words. Very different meaning, wasn't it? Take a single word like "oh." In and of itself, it has no meaning. "Oh" only takes on a meaning as you say it. Now watch how you can change the meaning of that word simply through inflection. I'd like you to say the word "oh" to convey "I understand." Oh. "I don't understand." Oh. Now notice it's the same word, different inflection, exact opposite meanings. So if you don't say the right inflection, somebody can misinterpret the meaning. Say "oh" to convey surprise, disappointment, disgust, affection. Hey, wait a second. That was pleasure. Close enough, but you see you can get in trouble on that one. All right? So, what I'm asking you to do is simply open your eyes and ears, watch the signals people send you. Verbal, vocal, visual. I'm going to ask you to make two simple decisions about people. All right, decision number one. Is the person that I'm dealing with exhibiting through their verbal, vocal, visual behavior more open or guarded behavior? Now, how do you tell the difference? Guarded people, and I'd like to know if you know people who fit this. Guarded people do not, I repeat, they do not show or share their feelings and thoughts readily or willingly. In other words, they play their cards how? Close to the vest. They're hard to read. They have controlled body language and facial expressions to the extreme. We say they have what kind of a face? Poker face, more stoic. Whatever they are feeling or thinking inside stays inside. They share information only on a need-to-know basis. These are the type of people that when they get together with you, they do not like much, if any, social talk, chit-chat, schmoozing, whatever you want to call it. What do they want to do? Get right down to business. Listen, I have 10 minutes. What do you have? They make decisions primarily based on what? Facts, logic, numbers, data, documentation. Put it in writing. How many of you know somebody like that? All right? I have a friend like this. This guy is off the chart. Off the chart. This guy is so bottom line, so no nonsense, so cut to the chase. I remember the first time he called my home, and my wife Sue answered the phone. She answers. All he says to her is this: "Tony." That was it. That was it. So, I mean, she's got a lot on the ball. She figured it was for me, so she gives me the phone. I talked to him. It was a short phone call, as you can imagine. I hang up. She said, "Who was that?" I said, "That was Dennis. Why?" She said, "I cannot believe how rude," and she went on about this. I said, "Sue, that's Dennis. You take him, you leave him. That's just him. I've accepted it." She said, "No, you're missing something here, Tony. And let me tell you what you're missing. You know, whether he's like that or not doesn't matter to me, but you are known as a relationship and communication expert, and you have a friend like this. What does that say about the effectiveness of your techniques?" Whoa, yeah. Now she's talking my language. I said, "I never thought about it that way." She said, "Tony, I got to tell you, you got to make a decision. You either have to take him under your wing, coach him, be his mentor, show people through him how well your concepts work, or cut him loose." I said, "Well, I'm not going to cut him loose, so I'll take the challenge." So I worked 3 months with this guy. Now, I don't know how many of you have a story, an example in your life that you are just incredibly proud of. Dennis is mine. I worked with this guy. It was a challenge. I mean, she challenged me. It was like somebody pulling out that glove and smacking me across the face. I worked with him 3 months. And talk about one of the most remarkable turnarounds. He calls my house. My wife answers. He said, "Sue, Dennis, Tony, 300% improvement. You can't get better than that." Unbelievable. This stuff works. At the other end, we have the open people. Open people readily, willingly show and share their feelings and thoughts whether you want to know them or not. Any subject, anywhere, anytime, fair game. These are the people, they wear their hearts on their sleeves. You could read them like a book. Whatever they're feeling or thinking inside, you see outside. Just the way they are. They also have a tendency during conversation to digress a lot. You know, people like that. Oh, that reminds me. And they jump around. What was I talking about? What was the question? They go off on all these tangents. It's been said about open people that their thoughts are like gumballs. They just fall to the tongue and roll out. Not unusual to leave a conversation with an open person and say to yourself, wow, woo! What did we talk about? Because they're jumping all over the place. And they make decisions primarily based on what? Emotion, feeling, intuition. So we have open people, we have guarded people. Question is, where are you? Where would you put yourself on that scale? Most of the time, with most people, pick a number. And I know some of you are saying, Tony, but should I pick the number I am at work or the number I am at home? Because I have a different number at work versus at home. How many of you find yourselves in that situation? One number at work and another at home. How many of you? All right, we call that schizophrenic. Well, not really. You notice I say this is the behavioral style grid. You don't see it saying personality style grid. It's behavioral style. And here's why. Personality is more set in stone than behavior. Behavior you can change. I can decide right now to behave one way with you and an hour later behave a totally different way with you. I can behave one way with you right now and I can behave a totally different way with you now. So I can change and control my behavior like that. That's called adaptability. So the point is, you can have a different number at work or at home. If you ask me, Tony, what number are you? I would say, well, work or home. You say work. And I'd say, well, with my employees or with my customers, because it's a different number. You say, well, how about at home? I say, well, at home, are you talking about the number I am with my wife or my kids? You say, well, your kids. I say, well, which one? I have 4 kids, 4 children, and as fate would have it, one of each of those 4 colors. It is truly amazing. So pick a number that you believe reflects your pattern most of the time with most people, and pick a particular role. Your role as a salesperson, your role within the office with your colleagues, your role at home as a spouse, your role as a parent. Pick a role. I would say in this particular setting, pick your role as a salesperson in the work environment. Okay? Pick a number. Let's go to the next scale. Direct or indirect? How do we tell the difference? Directness is a measure of pace and a measure of assertiveness. So indirect people are slower paced. Direct people are faster paced. Now when I say slower and faster, I'm talking about the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they make decisions, the way they do things in general. Indirect people tend to be slower. Direct people tend to be faster. Indirect people tend to be less assertive. Direct people, more assertive. Indirect people tend to be more patient. Direct people, impatient. When it comes to risks, decisions, or a change, indirect people approach all 3 more slowly, cautiously, and methodically. Because indirect people have a tremendous inner driving need not to be wrong. And as a result, they check, they double check. They think about it, they sleep on it. They do their homework, their research, their due diligence, all because they don't want to be wrong. How many of you have sold somebody like that, right? Direct people, risks, decisions, change, they approach all 3 more quickly, decisively, spontaneously. Because their inner driving need is to accomplish and achieve as much as possible, get it over with, what's next? Now, when the 2 work together and they practice the golden rule, Can you see a problem? Because the indirect person is wanting to slow things down. Wait a second. We've got to do this just right. The direct person wants to speed things up. Hey, come on, I got a lot to do. It's good enough. Whenever there is conflict between quantity and quality, who would go which way? Indirect people? Quality. Fewer things? Do them perfect. The direct people? Quantity. Let's do as much as we can, as good as we can. It doesn't have to be perfect. How many of you believe that you are married to somebody who is at the other end? I am. What end would you put me at? Direct. There's no question about that. Don't even pause on that one. My wife's indirect. And it is amazing how things get done around the house. She is a perfectionist about things. And me, yeah, you know, it's in the right, you know. So, you know, it's near the laundry basket. What does it matter? You know, it's on the floor. You know it belongs in there. I got to tell you, hanging pictures is the worst thing with her. Because she'll say, Tony, so she comes home one day with like 7 pictures, you know, pieces of art. What are you doing with all this? She said, Tony, no, our walls are too bare. I want to put 2 over there, 1 here, and 2 there, and another one over. And she, you know, she's going through this thing. I said, you know, I don't see any reason why we have to have more stuff on the wall. It looks okay to me. She says, no, we got to do this. She says, I have to run back to the store and pick up some food for tonight. She comes home, and I am so proud. I said, Sue, come over. You're not going to believe this. She said, what? I said, look, I put all 7 up. She said, Tony, what did you do? I said, I put them up. She said, you did it all wrong. I said, Sue, you said 2 there, 1 there, 1 there, 2 there. I put them just where you wanted. She said, no, and they're crooked, too. I said, they are not crooked. No way. And we get into this whole thing about if it's crooked. She goes in, pulls out one of these, what do they call them? The levels. All right? So a little piece of the bubble's outside of the line. I mean, just a little piece. I thought it was pretty good getting that close without using a level. And she said, look, it's not. And we have to go through every single one, do these. It took a whole day. Now, how could something like this take a whole day? It took me 15 minutes to put 7 up. But that's what happens. That's what happens. When it comes to rules, indirect people follow rules according to the letter of the law. Direct people follow rules according to the spirit of their interpretation. How about gray areas? When there's a gray area, it doesn't quite say whether you can or you can't. Whenever an indirect person comes across a gray area, they usually go to somebody in authority and ask permission. You know, it doesn't say whether I can do this or not. This is what I'd like to do. Is it okay? They're looking for the blessing. Is it okay? Can I do it? Whereas the direct person, when they find a gray area, which of course they call their window of opportunity, their attitude is, I'm not going to ask. If I ask and I hear no, I can't do it. If I don't ask, I didn't hear no, could be yes. I'm just going to go do it. My philosophy is this. It's easier to beg forgiveness than it is to seek permission. So now the question becomes, what letter would you pick for yourself? So what I'd like you to do is pick a letter for yourself that you believe reflects your pattern of behavior most of the time with most people. So pick a letter. Does everybody have a letter and a number? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is build the model. I have 3 objectives in this section of the program. 3 objectives. Number 1, how do you size up somebody through the simple process of elimination? 2 decisions, ladies and gentlemen. Is the person more open or guarded? Process of elimination. Is the person more direct or indirect? Process of elimination. Second objective, understanding the 4 basic patterns of behavior. What are they? How do they act? What's their likes, dislikes, fears, goals, the ways they make decisions, etc. And then the third and most critical, once you can size somebody up, understand their style, what do you do about it? And this is where you have sort of the golden key. Because I guarantee you, and I've taught this concept. This year, actually, is 30 years that I've been teaching, researching, and writing about this concept. And as you can imagine, in 30 years, I have thousands of testimonial letters, and I can tell you, in terms of sales management, students in school getting better grades, marriages being improved or saved, it works. But it only works if you take it out of here and use it. So, let's see how this audience divides among the four basic styles. How many of you chose as your number a 1 or a 2, your letter, a C or a D? Can I see your hands, please? 1 or a 2 combined with a C or a D. Your style is what we call the director. I'll tell you a little bit about yourself in a second. Directors. How many of you chose as your number a 3 or a 4, but a C or a D as your letter? Let me see your hands. Socializers, party on! How about a 3 or a 4, but an A or a B? Can I see your hands, please? Our relators. Our relators. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And finally, a 1 or a 2 combined with an A or a B. Can I see your hands, please? Our thinkers. Now, they raise their hands a little slower because all the facts are not in yet. They're still analyzing this. Jury's out on this one. So there are 4 basic styles: directors, thinkers, relators, socializers. So what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about each style. I'm going to do sort of a CNN summary here, and then I'll get into some more depth on each one. Let's start with the directors. Where are my directors? One more time. Can I see your hands, please? Directors. Okay. Directors, their key style, their key desire is results, bottom line. Their motto, I want it done right, I want it done now, or better yet, I want it done when? Yesterday. They're in a hurry for everything, juggling a lot of things at the same time and doing them well. If there's any style that is great, natural, in terms of being multitasking, it is the directors. They're great delegators. They're great administrators. They work best under pressure, under deadlines, and they play to win. Another motto for directors: winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. They do not play games for funsies. Oh, let's just play and have fun. Oh, let's not keep score. We don't need score. You know, they always want to know who's winning. Because they work so well under pressure and they're so multitasking oriented, I would think one of their great jobs would be a short order cook in a roadside diner, because they can handle anything thrown at them. Any order, no problem whatsoever. I will tell you this: of all 4 styles, the directors are the weakest listeners. I'm going to have to repeat that for them. They are the weakest listeners, but there's a reason. They don't have time, and they already know the answer. Why listen? So those are the directors. We'll get in more depth in just a little while. Let's talk a little bit about socializers. Where are my socializers? Right? Their key desire: fun, excitement, applause, visibility, recognition. And as a result, they talk a lot about their favorite subject: themselves. Generally speaking, socializers are generally speaking. They have the gift of gab, the power of persuasion. They have the ability to get other people more excited about their ideas than even they are themselves. They are the only group who could win an argument not knowing what they're talking about. They're positive thinkers. They have a sunny disposition. They do not like negativity or negative thinkers. They don't like negative people. And I will tell you, of all 4 styles, they pay the least attention to detail. Hey, as long as it's close, what does it matter? In the ballpark, best guesstimate. You know, you can ask a thinker, Ask a thinker, how much do you earn? Thinker might say $33,335.42. Ask a socializer, how much you earn? They say around 50,000, even though they earn 33,300. I have the stereotypical New York City Italian mother. You get